Imagine waking up tomorrow and knowing that the very first thought you have, the words you speak, the emotions you feel, the knowledge you feed your mind, the responsibility you take, and the purpose you live by are all building the life you've always dreamed of. These 12 life lessons aren't just ideas. They are daily habits that shape your destiny. Guard your first thought the moment you wake up, because that first thought is the seed that will grow throughout your entire day. Before your feet touch the floor, before you reach for your phone, before you allow the noise of the world to invade your peace, you must take control of your mind. The mind is most impressionable in the first few minutes after waking. It is quiet, open, and ready to receive instruction. If you allow fear, worry, comparison, or negativity to enter first, you are programming your system for limitation. But if you deliberately plant clarity, confidence, gratitude, and expectation, you are constructing a foundation of strength. Your first thought is not random, it is chosen. And what you choose consistently becomes your mental habit. Many people wake up and immediately surrender their mind to external forces. Notifications, messages, news, and social media become the architects of their attitude. By the time they leave their bed, their spirit is already distracted, anxious, or reactive. That is not leadership. That is mental slavery. A disciplined person understands that the morning is sacred territory. It is a space where identity is reinforced. Instead of asking, what is happening today? You declare, this is who I am today. You remind yourself of your standards. You affirm your values. You rehearse your confidence. This is not empty positivity. It is intentional conditioning. The brain responds to repetition. When you consistently begin your day with empowering thoughts, you strengthen neural pathways that support resilience and focus. Guarding your first thought also requires silence. You must learn to sit in stillness for a few moments and observe your internal dialogue. If you notice doubt creeping in, challenge it immediately. If yesterday's failure tries to replay in your mind, replace it with today's opportunity. You are not obligated to entertain every thought that appears. A strong mind evaluates thoughts before accepting them. The morning is when you train that evaluation muscle. You decide what deserves attention and what must be dismissed. Over time, this discipline builds emotional stability because your mood is no longer controlled by circumstances but by conscious direction. When you protect the first thought, you create mental momentum. One empowering idea leads to another. Gratitude leads to confidence. Confidence leads to courage. Courage leads to action. All of it begins in those invisible early moments. Your external performance is a reflection of your internal preparation. If your preparation is careless, your performance will be inconsistent. But if your preparation is deliberate, your day will carry structure and purpose. Speak your vision daily, because words are not merely sounds. They are instructions to your subconscious. What you repeatedly say, you begin to believe. And what you believe, you begin to act upon. Every morning, you must articulate who you are becoming, not based on current evidence, but based on desired destiny. If you wait until you see success to speak confidently, you will always be behind. Vision must be declared before it is manifested. When you speak with conviction about your goals, you align your thoughts, emotions, and behavior with that declaration. Speaking your vision is a form of mental rehearsal. Athletes visualize victory before competition. Leaders rehearse clarity before decision-making. In the same way, you must verbalize your direction before stepping into your responsibilities. Say that you are disciplined, and your mind begins searching for disciplined behavior. Say that you are focused, and your attention sharpens. Say that you are capable, and hesitation decreases. The subconscious does not argue with repetition. It accepts it as truth. Therefore, your daily language must reflect your highest intention, not your temporary frustration. There is power in hearing your own voice. Affirm your future. Silent thoughts are useful, but spoken words carry greater emotional weight. When you hear yourself declare commitment, excellence, and growth, you create accountability within your own mind. You cannot consistently speak greatness and live carelessly without feeling internal conflict. That tension pushes you toward alignment. Over time, your spoken vision becomes your lived reality because behavior naturally follows belief. Discipline your emotions because feelings are powerful servants, but terrible masters. Every morning you wake up with emotions already present. Sometimes energy, sometimes heaviness, sometimes motivation, sometimes resistance. The mistake most people make is assuming that what they feel should determine what they do. But feelings are responses, not commands. They react to memory, environment, biology, and imagination. If you allow them to rule your decisions, your life will swing like a pendulum, productive one day and paralyzed the next. A disciplined mind acknowledges emotion without surrendering authority to it. Emotional discipline begins with awareness. The moment you wake up, identify what you are feeling without judgment. If you feel tired, admit it. If you feel anxious, recognize it. If you feel unmotivated, observe it. Awareness gives you distance. Distance gives you control. When you say to yourself, I feel anxious, instead of I am anxious, you separate your identity from your temporary state. This separation is critical because you are not your emotion, you are the manager of it. A builder of the mind understands that identity must be anchored in principles, not moods. Once you recognize the emotion, you redirect it with intention. If discouragement appears, you counter it with evidence of past victories. If anger tries to rise, you slow your breathing and choose patience. If fear whispers about possible failure, you respond with preparation and focus. Emotional discipline is not suppression, it is regulation. Suppression buries feelings until they erupt later. Regulation channels them into productive movement. Energy is energy. Frustration can become determination. Nervousness can become alertness. Sadness can deepen empathy. The key is deciding how that energy will be expressed. Consistency in this practice builds internal stability. When your emotions no longer dictate your effort, your performance becomes reliable. You work when you feel inspired and when you do not. You remain kind when appreciated and when criticized. You pursue excellence whether praised or ignored. This reliability strengthens your confidence because you trust yourself. Self-trust is built when you prove that your commitments are stronger than your feelings. Over time, disciplined emotional responses rewire your default reactions. Situations that once triggered overreaction begin to produce calm analysis instead. Feed your mind with growth because the mind, like the body, consumes whatever is available. If you do not intentionally provide it with nourishment, it will feed on convenience. News cycles, gossip, comparison, and negativity are always accessible. Growth, however, requires deliberate selection. Each morning presents an opportunity to input ideas that elevate your thinking. Reading a few pages of a meaningful book, listening to insightful instruction, or reflecting on constructive questions equips your mind with tools for the day ahead. What you consume shapes your perception. If you consistently expose yourself to complaints and cynicism, your worldview narrows. Problems appear larger, opportunities appear smaller, and people appear less trustworthy. But when you consume material centered on development, discipline, strategy, and wisdom, your perception expands. You begin to see solutions where others see obstacles. You interpret setbacks as feedback. You recognize patterns and principles that guide better decisions. Mental nutrition determines mental strength. Feeding your mind with growth also stimulates creativity. New information creates new connections. When you learn something fresh each morning, your brain forms associations that can be applied to challenges throughout the day. Growth-oriented input keeps your thinking flexible rather than rigid. It encourages curiosity instead of complacency. Complacency is the silent enemy of progress because it convinces you that yesterday's knowledge is sufficient for tomorrow's demands. A growing mind understands that development is continuous. This daily investment compounds over time. 10 minutes of intentional learning each morning may seem small, but multiplied over months and years, it produces depth of understanding that distinguishes you from the average thinker. As your knowledge expands, so does your confidence. You speak with clarity because you have substance. You act with conviction because you understand principles. You navigate complexity because you have trained your mind to seek insight rather than distraction. Take full responsibility for your life, because until you do, true power remains out of reach. Many people wake up each day blaming circumstances, people, or past mistakes for their current state. They point to a lack of opportunity, unfair treatment, or external obstacles as reasons they cannot advance. But the moment you accept complete responsibility for your thoughts, words, and actions, you reclaim authority over your life. Responsibility is the doorway to freedom. It shifts your focus from what you cannot control to what you can control, your choices. When you stop blaming, you stop giving away your power, and your mind becomes a tool for progress rather than a victim of circumstance. Responsibility is not about guilt or punishment, it is about ownership. It requires honesty. You must examine every failure, every setback, and every disappointment, not as someone else's fault, but as data for improvement. This process allows you to learn rather than resent. When you claim responsibility, you also claim the ability to change. No one can make the necessary changes for you. No one can create your discipline, your mindset, or your vision. Every habit you form, every decision you make, every standard you set is yours. Accepting responsibility daily trains your mind to stop reacting to the world and start shaping it. Responsibility also cultivates resilience. When challenges arise, a responsible mind looks for solutions instead of excuses. It understands that life will test commitment and tests our opportunities to refine character. Excuses only delay growth. They reinforce a mentality of helplessness and dependence. On the other hand, responsibility demands action, encourages problem solving, and develops leadership. A person who consistently practices accountability strengthens not only their mind, but their integrity, reputation, and influence. Live with clear purpose, because without purpose, even the most disciplined mind drifts aimlessly. Purpose gives direction to every thought and energy to every action. It answers the question, why am I here? And transforms ordinary routines into intentional rituals. When you wake up knowing exactly why you are pursuing your goals, every choice aligns with that vision. Without purpose, mornings are filled with distraction, decisions are inconsistent, and energy is wasted on trivialities. With purpose, even small efforts compound into extraordinary outcomes because every action has meaning. Purpose also anchors you during trials. Life is unpredictable, and obstacles are inevitable. A person without purpose is swayed by every difficulty, discouraged by every setback, and shaken by every criticism. But when you live with clarity of purpose, your mind remains focused despite external chaos. You measure progress not by the ease of the journey, but by alignment with your ultimate goal. Purpose becomes the compass that keeps you steady when storms rise and challenges threaten to derail your progress. A clear purpose shapes priorities. It tells you what deserves attention and what can be ignored. In a world full of distractions and competing demands, clarity of purpose protects your mind from mental clutter. You no longer chase every opportunity or react to every circumstance. Instead, you invest your energy where it truly matters. Decisions become easier, confidence increases, and momentum builds because purpose is both the fuel and the guide for action. Purpose also motivates self-mastery. When your goal is larger than immediate comfort, you push through resistance, delay gratification, and maintain discipline. Habits that would otherwise feel tedious become stepping stones to fulfillment. The mind aligned with purpose operates efficiently. It recognizes temporary discomfort as necessary for long-term gain. Every morning becomes an opportunity to reaffirm your commitment to that purpose, setting the tone for a life of intentionality and impact. Responsibility and purpose are intertwined. Responsibility ensures that you take ownership of your journey, while purpose ensures that the journey has meaning. Together, they form a framework for a powerful, resilient, and focused mind. By committing to both, you no longer drift through life reacting to circumstances. Instead, you actively shape your future, guided by clarity and empowered by accountability. Every thought, choice, and action becomes a deliberate contribution toward the life you were meant to build. Start each morning intentionally. Guard your mind. Speak your vision. Discipline your emotions. Feed your mind with growth. Take full responsibility. Live with purpose. Do this every single day. And watch how your life transforms from ordinary to extraordinary. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have. Build it. Strengthen it. Master it. The life you want is waiting. Begin today.